I commute New Jersey State Route 72 nearly every day, the entire length of the roadway. Actually, twice a day. I can't help noticing the crosses, flowers, and flags along the sides of the road. Little memorials for the fatal accidents that have probably happened. I find it both creepy and sad. Then one day I actually decided to count them. It had always felt like there were so many, but really only 13 of them that I could actually find. But that still got me thinking about New Jersey Route 72. And how dangerous was it really? Why? Research led me down so many rabbit holes, looking at statistics and the reasons for the crashes. Then I wanted to see if there were any ghost sightings or other legends associated with the roadway. What also struck me about the research is that it really didn't matter the time of day or circumstances, whether people were drinking or not. I can remember living off Route 9 in Vermont. It is one of the most dangerous sections of roadways in the US because of wind, snow, or ice most of the months, and it's just super windy and curvy. Also, there's 101 freeway in California. I literally lived off it. Besides being crowded nearly every hour of the day, you can just have plain stupid drivers. Lots of accidents were caused by distracted drivers that would actually involve multiple cars. Then, of course, California has many infamous police chases. I have to admit that they were fun to watch. You almost wanted to see not only if they got away, but also literally how close they were to my house. Not that I would go out and watch, but I wanted to know if it would impact if I needed to go somewhere. The hard fact is that chases are just so dangerous, and I can't believe that more people haven't died in them. But Route 72 is freaking straight, really, and it's only 28 miles long. There aren't many things to hamper good driving. No big curves, no hills, the traffic lights, there's like two, I think, and no major obstacles. Okay, deer are an obstacle, but no fatal collisions related to a deer that I could find on Route 72. And to be honest, I don't really see a lot of dead deer on the side of 72. Now, Magnolia, definitely, and others like Route 206 have tons of deer carcasses, but not 72. So, on this episode of Surely a Mystery, I am going to talk specifically about New Jersey Route 72 and all the fatal car crashes. What are possible factors that could be responsible for them? And of course, ghosts which have been seen. Let's get started. To be honest, New Jersey Route 72 has been a serious idea in the back of my mind for an episode. I was looking for new topics. I wanted to cover things that are somewhat ghostly, but a little different. Not just the usual ghost roads like Clinton Road. I really started to think about the roadway connecting LBI to Philadelphia. It's not even on the national list for the most dangerous roadways. That's really shocking, since I researched that all the deaths from 2009, when New Jersey actually started keeping reported statistics, there have been 68 recorded deaths, which means that it's 1.8 deaths per mile of Route 72. And that's just over the last 12 years. But what about before 2009? Some roadways in the United States actually have more than 60 deaths a year. So in reality, 72 is not that dangerous. But more a ticking time bomb of a road that at any time, any section, there could be a fatal accident. There are no clusters along the route. Places where it's just constantly dangerous enough to cause multiple fatal crashes, and no sections of the roadway that actually have more than 2 fatalities at a time. So the first rabbit hole was the time of day. There is no consistent time of day when these fatal accidents happen. It could be 10 a.m. or 3:30 in the morning. It was interesting that the times were so spread out. The time of day might affect the light conditions which drivers would have to deal with. However, most of the accidents occurred during the daylight, and only 4 of them happened when it was dark and unlit. Even at dawn or nighttime, there is still enough light. No sun, which might be blinding or harsh to drivers. So that's nothing that really interferes with the ability to see. The second rabbit hole, of course, is drunk drivers. I must admit that I was super surprised that very few of the accidents have been caused by drunk drivers. It is also hit or miss whether a drunk driver dies or those that they hit. Across the United States, drunk drivers are more likely to survive accidents where others die. Some say it's because they're more flexible and able to literally move freely. They don't tense up like someone who's genuinely aware of what is going on, so their bodies can move freely in the accident. And oftentimes they have a few broken bones. The drunk driver who hit me head on literally got out of her car and tried to walk away. She had no real injuries, some black and blue marks, but both our cars were totaled since she hit me head on at 60 miles an hour. So the third rabbit hole, of course, is EMS response time. I mean, it's not like most of Route 72 is right near an EMS location, although there is an EM station about halfway up the road. However, it is so varied. Some are super quick in under 4 minutes to get there, while others are upwards of 20 minutes. I think that it depends on where the crash is. Are there multiple cars involved or any difficulties getting to the scene? No snow, rain, or wind to keep them from getting to the scene. So there's nothing bad about the times, nor is there anything that would have really assisted those who died. Sometimes I think they were just destined to die. Honestly, the poor victims of these fatal accidents were sometimes long dead before EMS arrived. Others had suffered such catastrophic injuries that no matter what medical personnel were going to do to help them, it was not really going to help. Given all those things, there are particular and frequent reasons that fatal accidents statistically happen. Now, the accidents on Route 72 actually have no common causes. Some are still mysteries to this day to investigators. Police can maybe make assumptions or educated guesses, but no solid facts. However, there are some recurring themes. First is obviously speeding. The average speed can be upwards of 70 miles an hour when the road is determined to be driven safely at 55. Aggressive driving is really part of this grouping because people oftentimes get frustrated with how slow that someone in front of them is driving, so they will pass. You don't know how many times that I see headlights coming toward me on my side of the road in the morning. Some drivers really, really cut it close. Just before recording this episode, this truck that I see every morning does this. It tries to pass 5 or 6 cars at a time, and it nearly hit a truck head on. Luckily, the truck had moved on to the shoulder just in time. There are so many times like this when people try to pass at least 3 or 4 cars at a time. So some of these fatal accidents are caused by head-on accidents that should have never happened. Or oftentimes, people will turn into the pine trees to avoid a head-on collision and instead crash head-on to a tree 50 or 60 miles an hour. With this aggressiveness, there's also an overconfidence. Overconfident drivers are like those who pass 5 people at a time or think that they can do multiple things while they're driving. Talking on the phone, watching videos. Yes, I did just say that. Some people will watch the news or YouTube while they're driving. You think that I'm joking? It happens. The biggest thing that people want to do is actually eat. I do that, but imagine that you're eating and then you drop something. you are distracted. Impaired driving might also be distraction, but it can also be drugs, alcohol, prescription drugs, illness, temporary or long term, and allergies. Yep, allergies that can cause your eyes to tear or sneeze at the wrong time. And suddenly you are in the other lane. The last three causes can actually be grouped together: highway hypnosis, fatigue, and monotonous environment. People commute, so they get tired. Maybe they were coming home from work and are tired or thinking about what they need to do or what they forgot to do at work. The pinelands can be super continuous: trees, trees, and more trees. Not a lot of buildings. It can be pretty, but in the dead of winter, it is sparse in most places. The accidents happen because all of these things that I've talked about, there is honestly not one of these reasons that actually causes a significant number of these fatal accidents. It's really pretty evenly spread out over these possible reasons. Now let's talk one more time about EMS. When they're done with either the dead body or they've transported them to a local trauma center, I think that it's important to talk about what happens to the car and the scene afterwards. It's a fatal accident, so things are handled slightly differently. A car can be impounded as evidence, or it could be a total loss. It'll go to be crushed, but sometimes it's scrapped or salvaged, and the parts are actually put into another car. So a car that has bad energy from an accident and might actually be tainted with blood can be put into another car. Let me put this into perspective. Eastern Air Flight 401 crashes on December 29, 1972. There are 101 people on board who died. When the wreckage was recovered, it was actually reused in other aircraft. Many people began to record seeing the dead pilots or ghostly passengers on these new aircraft. Now, I'm not sure if this has happened with any of the fatal car accidents, but maybe it has been. They actually had to take out those parts from the aircraft to stop these incidents from happening. The gross thing is that bodily fluids are often washed by water or a 1:9 bleach or hydrogen peroxide mix to clean up the fatal accident area. Sometimes they'll use an absorbent material that's taken away and properly disposed of. But there is a problem. Oftentimes, road rash will literally leave a stain on the pavement, a permanent stain. That happens usually with motorcycle accidents, or if a pedestrian hits the pavement or is hit by a car. Rarely, if a person is ejected, does the road rash occur. Arteries and brain matter, unfortunately, also can leave a permanent stain on the pavement. As horrible as that sounds, it will happen with either animals or humans. You just can't get rid of all the biological fluids. Lastly, the asphalt itself can be the problem. It can literally soak up these fluids, or the natural divots in the road can help to store it. Let me give you an extreme example of this idea. Hiroshima shadows is a bleaching effect of a fatal incident. A human being was standing or sitting, and a nuclear bomb went off. The human is actually blocking or shielding and literally leaves a shadow on the buildings and on the pavement. It is called the human shadow of death, like at the Sumitomo Bank in Japan. But our accidents are actually bodily fluids being left behind with the energy of the person who has died. There is literally no way to get over on all of the parts of a deceased person. Every little drop of blood or piece of matter. No cleanup is truly complete. I know that sounds disgusting, but it's just the way it is. You can remove the car, but the imprints of these fatal accidents are still there. So that obviously brings me to our ghosts. Why do these ghosts happen? And why do people think that there are ghosts? I mean, think about it. All these accidents are sudden deaths and leave a literal imprint on the location. There is often intense grief of family, friends, EMS workers, people involved in the accident, and even the dead person's grief itself. I want to touch on the roadside or cultural memorials. For example, Officer Eric Tomko was killed on his way to work. The driver in front of him was attempting to make a left turn. Now, trust me, that particular turn is very sharp, and drivers have to all but stop short just to make it. It is apparent that maybe Tomko wasn't ready for the truck to turn, or the truck didn't have a signal, because he hit the rear passenger's door. It caused him to be ejected from his motorcycle. Now, his memorial has his shield on a big pole. But what struck me about this memorial is that his actual nameplate is on the ground in front of one of the crosses. It was shocking. Was that the nameplate he was wearing when he crashed? It's there. It is in this memorial for all to see. I was so shocked. Another memorial was for a pharmacy student who commuted to Philadelphia. Joey's picture and nameplate is literally like it was for a gravestone. Turns out he was heading home from school. There was no reason for him to hit the UPS truck. Having the picture really brought it home. You could see him. There's another memorial for Dave, and it had a personal picture from a woman with him. It was so shocking to see him relaxed, but yet affixed to the cross. But the most troubling of all the memorials along Route 72 is the one for a 17-year-old Southern Regional senior who died when he apparently fell asleep at the wheel and collided with a utility pole, then rolled over where it came to rest upside down. He was entrapped in the vehicle and eventually succumbed to his injuries at the scene. The sad part was it was literally across from the hospital, and staff tried to come and assist in the care of the student. But what to me is the most disturbing, the shoes that he was wearing the night of the accident are there in his memorial, which the family and students are maintaining. I had no idea until I went to take pictures of every one of these memorials that I see these shoes. I could hardly believe it. This was a tragic accident, but what made it worse was this young man's mother had been murdered by his own father a few months back. I have to admit that I can't look at this memorial when I drive by. It's like I'm waiting to see something. There have been times that I go past and I think that I see a man standing there, but when I look again, there's no one there. I think some of the memorials have been erased by time or by construction crews. 91-year-old Joan Griffith of Shipbottom was killed when a woman driving the car he was in went through a red light at Marcia Drive in 72. There has been a tremendous amount of construction there, so it was wiped away by the pavement and the other remnants of that accident. For example, in the same area, Timothy Colheim, who owned the Surefire Grill right near my house, collided with the rear of an attenuator vehicle. He died on the scene. All of these fatal crashes that are actually documented in the records probably do not even cover those accidents that occurred before, or even when it was just horse and carriage roadway. So the ghostly apparitions could be from the past ones, which are memorialized in the recent years, or old ones. One driver reported seeing a woman standing at the side of the road. He couldn't really make her out. Well, but it was just kind of strange that she was standing there. There weren't any cars around. He debated with himself whether he should go back and check on her. He chose never to do it. Near the memorial for the pharmacy student, people have reported seeing a man walking on the trestle overpass above where the accident actually happened. Some local youths will try and paint the bridge, but many will try and go on a dare to drink near the accident site. They hope to see a ghost, but instead they tend to hear strange noises and sometimes the sound of something or someone near them. Sometimes they think it might be animals, but other times they think it might be his ghost. Many kids eventually decide at that point to leave and forget about wanting to see the actual ghost. Most of the ghosts reported along 72 are seeing people walking alongside the road, but no cars or homes nearby. There is nothing strange about them. They're just people walking at odd hours, at odd times. But then people will look in their rearview mirrors and not see any. I think that these phantoms could be from the fatal accidents. They're just walking to look for their cars, to find out maybe where their car went, or to get help. We also have normal ghost lights and floating lights. These could be the ghosts from the fatal accidents, but there's no direct documentation of where the lights are coming from or going to. Some of the accidents are really not well identified along the roadway. Many of the reports are bright floaters shooting out of the pinelands and heading to the middle of the road and then disappearing. Or people will see ahead on Route 72, usually in the middle of the road, a single light. They note that it doesn't look like headlights. It's a single headlight, kind of like a motorcycle. But then it simply fades out or disappears completely. The drivers think that the motorcycle probably simply turns off, but when they pass that area, there is no turn off. Some phantom lights are near the side of the roadway and just in the tree line. People will see a light floating above the ground at the level of probably a person standing. It doesn't move like a flashlight, and then the light will simply disappear. The biggest problem with these Route 72 ghosts are they are mostly mist lights or some phantom walkers. No phantom hitchhikers, no real full body apparitions. It's just like catching something out of the corner of your eye. Route 72 ended up being deadly, but not so deadly as many roads. However, it's still almost 2 deaths per mile. And the randomness of the accidents, the time of day, the location, the possible reasons for them, makes them deadly. Because you just don't know where or when the next one will happen. I have to be honest that I'm always waiting to see an accident in the morning or waiting for some crazy driver to try and pass someone and cause an accident. I think that any road can be dangerous. I think that what makes it dangerous is actually the drivers. I'm more scared of some of these drivers than I am of the deer on the side of the road, or even the crazy New Jersey weather. So when you're driving along New Jersey State Route 72, keep your eyes open and try to make sure that you're paying attention to your surroundings. This has been your living host, Anna, from Long Beach Island, New Jersey, reporting on the dangerous road leading off the island and into the Pinelands, traveling all the way to Philadelphia. Remember to leave your 5-star ratings and please come back the next time for a new look at a new history and mystery of New Jersey.